1. Mental health and emotional burnout. The essence of the problem. Modern youth are often under pressure from social media, parental expectations, competition. This leads to chronic stress, anxiety, depression, panic attacks, and sometimes suicidal thoughts. Statistics. According to the WHO, 1 in 5 young people in the world face mental health problems. In Europe, depression has become one of the leading causes of disability among young people under 25. Examples. Student Alina experiences constant anxiety about her studies and comparing herself to ideal bloggers on Instagram. Because of this, she stops sleeping, eating, and has panic attacks. Young specialist Igor burned out at his first job. Expectations were high, but there was no support. Solution. Psychoeducation from a young age, reducing the taboo of going to a psychologist, psychotherapist. Create school or university psychological support programs. Implementation of mindfulness practices, meditation, and Stoic disciplines. 2. Excessive dependence on social networks. The essence of the problem. Today, young people spend an average of 3 to 5 hours a day on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. This causes addiction, reduces concentration, and destroys self-esteem and social skills. Statistics. In 2023, the average teenager checks their phone up to 100 times a day. Social media algorithms stimulate dopamine swings that are equivalent to gambling. Example. Sophia is 16 years old, feels apathetic and anxious if she doesn't get likes on her photos. Pavlo constantly puts off studying because one more TikTok video turns into 3 hours of scrolling. Solution. Set timers or time limits for gadgets. Holding digital detox days. Educational campaigns about the impact of social media on the psyche. Support for offline activities, sports, clubs, volunteering. 3. Uncertainty of the future. The essence of the problem. Today's young people are often confused about what to do in life. The traditional education work retirement model no longer works. Wars, economic crises, rapid changes in technology, by this causes fear for the future. Statistics. According to a survey among Ukrainian youth in 2024, more than 60% are not sure what they want to do in 5 years. More than half of students change their major or doubt the correctness of their choice. Examples. Olia, a second-year student, is changing universities for the 2nd time and is not sure if she needs higher education. Maxim, 19, dreams of doing his own business, but is afraid of failure and gets a stable but boring job. Solution. Career counseling at schools and universities. Promote mentoring and coaching, encouraging internships, volunteering, and project participation. Development of adaptability and creative thinking skills. 4. Problems of self-expression and identity. The essence of the problem. Modern youth are looking for themselves in a world where there is an overabundance of information, lifestyles, and opinions. This results in an identity crisis. Who am I? What should I be? This causes confusion, uncertainty, and sometimes a deep emotional crisis. Facts. According to research by the European Youth Initiative, more than 40% of young people aged 16 to 24H have problems with self-identity. The number of young people who cannot clearly answer what they are interested in or who they see themselves as in the future is growing. Examples. Ilya, 17, dreams of painting but faces family pressure. You can't make money as an artist. Katia, 19, can't figure out what she wants to be because she changes her interests every month, focusing on trends on TikTok. Solution. Supporting young people in the process of self-discovery. Educational projects, workshops, trainings, developing a culture of support for individuality, from schools to families, reducing social stigma and comparison, space for trial and error, clubs, communities, creative spaces. 5. Social isolation after the pandemic. The essence of the problem. COVID-19 has left a deep mark. Young people have lost years of socialization, communication, and participation in teams. Some have never returned to a full life in society, which causes difficulties in communication, anxiety, and loneliness. Statistics. In 2022, 1 in 4 teenagers in Europe admitted to feeling chronically lonely. In 2023, the number of visits to psychologists due to social anxiety among young people increased by 37% in the United States. Examples. Andrew, 15, is afraid to go out after distance learning and has almost no friends. Yulia, 20, feels out of place at parties and communicates exclusively on Telegram. Solution. Organizing offline events and meetings for young people. Lectures, coffee clubs, hubs, public communication courses, social skills training, systematic return of live communication to educational institutions. Establishment of psychological support services in schools, universities. 6. Economic instability. The nature of the problem. Many young people face difficulties in financial independence. High prices, low salaries, difficulties with employment. This causes uncertainty, anxiety, and a sense of helplessness. Facts. In Europe, almost 50% of young people under 25 live with their parents. In Ukraine, young people often receive minimum wage or work unofficially. Examples. Taras, 22, has a diploma but cannot find a job without experience. Maria, 19 years old, works 2 jobs to pay for housing and school. Solution. Financial education from adolescence. Development of internships, freelance platforms for young people, state or public support for startups and youth initiatives, training in self-employment skills, creative economy, business, crafts. 7. Problems with self-esteem. The essence of the problem. Comparing yourself with successful people on social networks, the pressure of social standards of beauty, success, wealth, all this greatly affects self-confidence. Statistics. In 2023, 70% of young people admit that they do not feel good enough. High rate of eating disorders due to imposed standards of appearance. Examples. Lara, 16, edits her photos and apps every day because she is ashamed of herself without filters. Alexei, 18, does not dare to apply to a prestigious university. I'm not worthy. Solution. Courses and campaigns on healthy self-esteem. Educational initiatives that show reality, not an Instagram picture. Support for youth movements for body positivity, diversity, and authenticity. 8. The impact of disinformation and fakes. The essence of the problem. In a time of rapid development of information technology, young people are faced with a huge flow of information every day, but not all of it is true. Fakes, manipulations, half-truths, pseudo-scientific facts, edited videos, emotionally colored headlines, all of this forms a distorted picture of the world that affects the views, decisions, values, and even the psychological health of young people. Facts. According to an OECD study, almost 60% of teenagers in Europe are unable to distinguish fact from opinion in information sources. In 2023, Google analysts found that 30% of young people believe in at least one conspiracy theory read on social media. In Ukraine during the war, the spread of fakes on TikTok and Telegram became a tool of information warfare. Real examples. Sophia, 17, started avoiding vaccinations after watching a video on TikTok that proved the danger of vaccines, although it turned out to be fake. Ihor, 19, fell into a pyramid scheme after trusting an Instagram blog that guaranteed profits without risk. Consequences. Young people make poor life decisions. Decreased trust in official sources. spreading panic or aggression based on false news. Loss of critical thinking, blind imitation of opinion leaders. Solution: educational programs on media literacy in schools, universities, even online. Fact-checking platforms, for example, StopFake, VoxCheck, teach how to use them. Interactive courses, how to check a source, evaluate a headline, recognize a fake, to teach young people to think critically, to ask questions. Who said this? Why now? What is the interest in this? 9. Loss of interest in offline life. The essence of the problem. Modern youth spend a significant part of their lives online, in social networks, games, and on streaming platforms. As a result, the real world seems less interesting, less dynamic, and less safe. Many people begin to avoid live communication, walks, hobbies, physical activity, and new acquaintances. Figures and facts. According to a Statista survey, teenagers spend more than 7 hours a day on their phones. A study by Common Sense Media, 2022, showed that 42% of teenagers rarely communicate live with their friends, preferring messengers. In 2023, Ukraine recorded an increase in visits to psychologists among young people due to a feeling of emptiness, despite the high level of online activity. Why this is happening: dopamine addiction, social networks, games, and content work on the principle of reward, likes, messages, victories, stimulating the brain to constantly seek quick gratification. Online images are more ideal than reality. Online people create a filtered version of themselves, more beautiful, interesting, successful. Offline requires effort. You have to leave the house, interact, hear rejections, and overcome discomfort. Consequences: social isolation, difficulty building real relationships, decreased empathy, less empathy, and understanding of the emotions of others, loss of communication skills, fear of phone calls, difficulty communicating in public, devaluation of simple things. A walk, a book, silence are perceived as boring. An example from life: Marina, 18, confesses, "I have 5,000 followers, but I'm afraid to go to the store alone. Real life is scary because you can't press undo or close the chat." Dimitro, 20, stopped playing sports because online games and watching streams draw you in faster than going to the gym. Solution: digital detox, setting limits on gadget use. For example, no social media after 20 o'clock. Offline hobby clubs, sports, creative, volunteer. Conscious time planning, recording meetings, live events, and walks in the schedule. Involvement of adults, parents, teachers, and mentors should set an example of a healthy balance. Gamification of offline activities, making reality more interesting, quests, travel, joint projects with friends. 10. Dependence on others' opinions. The essence of the problem: modern young people increasingly measure their own value through external assessments, likes, comments, shares, reactions of other people on social media and in real life. This creates a psychological dependence on approval and forces them to adapt their behavior, appearance, and even thoughts to other people's expectations. Facts and research. According to a study by the Harvard Graduate School of Education, more than 70% of teenagers admitted that their mood depends on the number of likes on a post. A report by the Royal Society for Public Health UK showed that Instagram is the platform that has the greatest impact on the decline in self-esteem among young people. Psychologists call this phenomenon a social mirror. We begin to see ourselves not as we are, but as others see us. Psychological consequences: anxiety, fear of being unnoticed, rejected, or not good enough. Procrastination, fear of being criticized makes you postpone actions. Loss of authenticity. Young people begin to play a role that they believe will be approved by others. Depression, comparison with successful people on Instagram, YouTube creates a false sense of inferiority. Examples from life. Irina, 16 years old. I don't post photos unless I'm sure there will be more than 100 likes. If it's less, I feel ashamed. Oleg, 19 years old. I dream of writing poetry, but I'm afraid that my friends won't understand and will laugh at me. For now, I just repost memes. Sophia, 20 years old. When I received a bad comment on a video, I couldn't bring myself to leave the house for 3 days. Why it's dangerous. A person stops living for themselves and starts living for the preferences of others. Dependence on external stimuli rather than internal values is formed. Confidence in one's own choices decreases. Young people hesitate to start a business if it does not meet with approval. Stoicism philosophy, how to overcome it. If you value yourself, don't let others' opinions determine your value. Epictetus. Stoicism teaches, if you can't control it, let it go. You can't control what other people think, but you can control your reaction to them. Internal compass, external approval. Live by your values, not by likes. Being honest with yourself is the highest form of freedom. What to do? Start with self-observation. What do you do just for the sake of others' judgment? Reduce your dependence on social media. Limit your notifications, do a detox, make a list of your internal values. What do you focus on without an audience? Regularly practice Stoic imagination. Imagine the worst case scenario and how you will cope with it. This reduces the fear of criticism. Learn to be yourself in public. Write, film, speak, not for approval, but for growth. Conclusion. In the pursuit of likes, we often lose what really matters ourselves. Be the person you respect in the mirror. Everything else is secondary.